COVID-19 by trying to have, a more clearer and very specific definition of who a dependent is, by introducing, specifically the spouse. And so I would say Honorable Kaluma tried to bring in, a group of people that we can say primary heirs. Primary heirs is the spouse and the children. And then also bring in, other secondary dependents like parents, grandparents, grandchildren, and siblings, and children taken into custody by, the deceased person. So I think Honorable Kaluma was very clear, and this, removes ambiguity from the law of succession. Because in the law of succession, the previous clauses talk about wives, without necessarily defining who then qualifies as a wife, who is a wife, or who are wives. And Honorable Kaluma connected it to the Marriage Act, which now is very specific on who is a wife.
Right. And of course, this one comes, some of the issues, and of course, Mheshimiwa Sankok, men are going to be on the receiving end here because they have been accused of not sharing or disclosing whatever they have. And in case one spouse dies, then this is where issues start to arise. What is your take on this in this case, Mheshimiwa Sankok?
Honorable Kaluma did a very good job because we have had even burial ceremonies being postponed for up to 2 years. Imagine a body lying in mortuary for 2 years simply because of the issue of succession. In fact, if you find the issue that is in court about succession, it's only about the rich who have something to be succeeded. So it is not about the person as per se. It is about the wealth created by that particular individual. And Kaluma came up with this bill which defined who the dependent is, who is supposed to succeed this person. Because I believe if we had an ex-wife a break, and during that breakup, you'll have settled everything. If the marriage has failed, then there is a traditional way, there is a court process in which you can break up, not separate, but break up. So if there was that breakup, then we assume during that breakup, whoever needed to be compensated had been compensated. So in this law of succession, it is only the wife who is legally married at the time of death of that particular individual that will be in that tax, it will be counted as a wife or wives. And then again, there was something that we'll have to amend during the floor, during the third reading. There is normally what we call a committee of the whole house, in which we do some amendment of the bills. If we want to do amendment, I will introduce an amendment on the dependents. Because if you are my dependent for the last 2 years, the past 2 years, probably I was taking care of you as a relative. Maybe you are a child of my brother or a child of my sister. Then when I die, everything that I was philanthropically assisting you with will go with me to the grave. It is my wife or whoever who will succeed me will be the one to decide whether they will be philanthropic and at what extent will they be philanthropic. If I was taking care of you, because Honorable Kaluma bill says that anybody who was a dependent who can prove that they have been taken care by the disease for the past 2 years will be counted as a dependent. But I think that one will open a Pandora box in which anybody whom probably had sent some money through M-Pesa, maybe I was philanthropic, I was paying for your school fees as a relative or as just a child of a friend, then you will now bring again another issue of being part of the succession, of being part of the dependent, which is not true, because some of us are philanthropic. For instance, personally, there are so many kids that I'm not related with. I take care of them. I pay their school fees. But that does not mean that my wife will be philanthropic like me, will be able to assist them. My wife may have other priorities, or may have other people that they want to assist. So whoever that I was taking care of while I was alive, should thank God that I was taking care of them.
Mheshimiwa Sankok,
the time that I...
Mheshimiwa Sankok, let me just put in this question first of all. Now, what happens in this situation where a couple were married, then in the process they got divorced, and later on one of the parent dies? So what happens to the children, or what happens to the wife?
No, you know, if there was a divorce, in that divorce process there was settlement of whoever that was divorced. So we assume that they are no longer wives. You know, the people can marry even 10 times. So do you want to say that the body now will lie in mortuary until we settle that down? You know, if there was a legal divorce process, then settlement had happened at that time. But part of the dependent is biological children. So if then you have children, they can really succeed whether they are from a divorce marriage or not. But the issue of that wife or wives, then it does not arouse, and they should not be anywhere near that particular succession process. No, you remember I said, if really the disease hated you in life, we are quite sure he hates you even in death. So you should not be anywhere near to that family or introduce your filthy claims in that particular family. No, it's not possible. And this law is very nice.
Right.
The issue that we were explaining, Victor, was the issue of people who are maybe probably taken in or taken or being assisted for the past 2 years, because that is what Kaluma law says. And that is what we will amend, because my philanthropic means should not be burdened with my wife or whoever that will inherit me. No. If I took care of you, just thank God that I've taken care of you while I was alive. When I'm dead, every benefit that I was giving you goes with me. And that whoever that now I'm taking care of should really be praying very hard that I don't die.
Mheshimiwa Peris Tobiko, Mheshimiwa Sankok has just spoken on something that if I was taking care of you and it's done, it's a done deal. And in this case, it's mostly women who suffer this fate in case there's a demise of a husband. What is your take on this, Mheshimiwa Tobiko? Because now it's going to be women who are going to be on the receiving end on this.
Victor, let me say this. I honestly agree with Honorable Sankok. I do agree with Honorable Sankok that, you know, women also must seek to be in legal setups, in legal relationships. You know, women must not be, must not allow themselves to be categorized as this group of people who are always hangers-on, you know, who are just hanging around people in not very clear circumstances. And so I do agree that, you know, when one is divorced, then you're divorced. And settlement must have been done at that time. But of course, when a man is divorcing a woman, you don't divorce your children. So your children remain as you know, your legal dependents. In the Kaluma bill, I had an issue, and we spoke with Honorable Kaluma even after the session, that you know, the clause 29.2, where he says, a person not named in this section shall not be a dependent for the purposes of this act unless the person proves maintained by the deceased for a period of 2 years prior to the deceased death. My argument, and I think that is the argument Honorable Sankok was trying to drive at, is that people maintain others in life, but when you pass on, you cannot now come in, because that clause gives in some room for those hangers on to come back and complicate the lives of the legal dependents. And so I would say that clause should have remained. It should be actually a protective clause to say a person not named in this section shall not be a dependent for the purposes of this act. Full stop. Don't bring in unless you prove maintenance.
Yes.
Because of course, people are maintaining others. The constituencies, we are maintaining so many people in one way or another by paying their school fees. A lot of people depend on leaders. And here we're not just talking about leaders. There are many, many Kenyans who are, as Sankok says, philanthropic and taking care of others, but that should not complicate the life of the legal dependents at the demise of the deceased person.
Mheshimiwa Sankok, let me just put it this way.
And so women...
Right. Continue, Mheshimiwa Peris.
Yes, I was saying, women must not be these people who take advantage of situations and always appear when the deceased has passed, that now I have the children of this man. Oh, I have been in the life of this man. Why were you not in the life of this person legally, or the life of this man, or the life of this woman? Why were you not in that relationship legally? Women must seek to be in legal relationships.
Right. Well put, Mheshimiwa. And Mheshimiwa Sankok, Mheshimiwa Peris Tobiko has brought in a very fundamental thing here, because most at times when a husband dies, that is when women or estranged wives reappear or resurface to claim their share in that marriage. Do you think this is going to curtail such kind of behaviors in case of a demise of a husband?
Yes, exactly, Honorable Peris. I thank her because she have actually the bill with her there. I don't have the bill with me here, but of course, I'm a mobile encyclopedia when it comes to some of these issues, being a legislator, so I carry them in my head. So, Honorable Peris have said the issue of part 2, which actually opened a Pandoran box. That is what I was trying to allude, where then anybody who have been maintained, anybody who have been maintained, how? And what is that, how do we measure maintenance? Probably I just decided to assist you in paying school fees. Probably I just decided to take you in and give you shelter as a philanthropic. Probably I'll send you money through M-Pesa. You can then bring the M-Pesa pay bill numbers, the M-Pesa pay bill SMS, to show that I was maintaining you. So I think that one is actually not well defined. So it should just end at anybody who have, Honorable Peris Tobiko had put it very well. So, and again, women should seek to either be legally married or very independent. But the issue of women, many a times, using men as the ATMs, using men as a source of income, using men as a livelihood, using men as a pension, simply because you went to have some illicit, kind of an affair. In fact, in the first place, the affair should be very illicit, very illegal with a man. If then you had an illicit affair with a man, as a woman, you should know that everybody there had some disadvantages and advantages. So of course, both of you had an advantage of being very romantic, and you enjoyed that at the moment.
Right, yes.
Secondly, there is disadvantages that come with illicit relationships. Mm-hmm. One of them, the man or men will of course you lose money. They're the ones that will pay for the hotel. They're the ones that will buy food. They're the ones that normally send transport or fare. The women, of course, they will know that there's also something that will come, a burden that may come. That means then you may get a disease, a venereal disease, what we call STD, or you may get a child. So that is your burden. Why did you not carry the burden of sending fare? Or
no, the child is not their burden.
No, just a minute. Just a minute, Wesh. I'm trying to explain myself here. And then we have had a situation whereby then a woman, in this case a woman, probably had an affair with 4 men or 5 men in the same week. And later on got pregnant. And telling each man that this child is yours. And since these are secretive issues that sometimes they don't want the family to know, then you find 4 men or 5 men sending upkeep money to one child because all of them wanataka kuficha pale hiki, hawataki kane. They meet with each other, and each of them is telling them, it is the end of the month, I have a little problem. Please, can you assist me with some little money, somebody I want to send this money. The other guy will tell him, even me, I'm in a problem because there is somebody I want to send money. All of them are sending to the same person. So if the affair was illegal, illicit, let it remain like that during life and during death. If a person hated you in life, of course, automatically, he will also hate you in death. So these ladies keep off. But of course, we know the children may be innocent here. But again, we should not use them as begging tools. Thank God, you know, with the United Nations Conventions on the rights of persons with disability, I think persons with disability or of whatever nature they are accepted from this. But we are saying that they should not hang and be the one causing problems during death. And it's not only men. There are also, it's only men who have a problem. Even women. I'm telling you, those women who are rich like Honorable Peris Tobiko, sometimes there is a lot of problems during burials because some just men came from somewhere and claim some little, and that is what Section 2 actually must be amended so that it cures those issues, so that they don't just come up and say I was being maintained.
All right.
Here and there.
All right, Honorable Sankok. Let me just rope in Honorable Peris Tobiko here. Mheshimiwa, Honorable Sankok is throwing a jab at you and, of course, fellow women out there and says that, you know, even men also have a right to share whatever they had or whatever they, Honorable Tobiko, whatever they shared or made, for that matter, during their marriage. In this situation, what happens now to the men and to the children? All right?
Yeah.
Mheshimiwa Tobiko, if you can hear me.
Sorry, I think I got disconnected.
Right. Right.
Can you kindly repeat your question?
Right. Okay, Mheshimiwa, the question here is, Mheshimiwa Sankok is saying that even men do suffer the same fate as women, and of course some men will always have a right to ask for whatever share they had, probably if there is any case of a demise of a spouse. What happened in this situation? Because even men will always have to say, you know what, we created wealth together and here we are, I never got my share when we separated. Does this act also provide for men to have a voice when it's passed in the floor of the National Assembly?
Sorry. You know these things.
Right.
The sort of, I didn't quite listen to Honorable Sankok because I got disconnected.
No problem.
But I will say the law is trying to protect all. The law is not just trying to protect women or men, but all in these relationships.
Right.
Hello?
Continue. I can hear. Yes.
Yeah. Yes, but particularly, we are in the current world. We are all maintaining. Some people, women are also, maintaining a lot of other people, including men, in one way or another. So I would say the law is not tailor-made for protection of women only or for protection of the men only, and in whichever unit, I think the children are paramount and they take center stage. Children who have been who are gotten in a certain relationship should be protected.
Yes, continue. I can hear you, Mheshimiwa.
Yes, yeah. I don't know whether I captured well the discussion.
Exactly.
Because I was
exactly.
off air.
And Mheshimiwa Sankok was also trying to say that women should also come out and declare their stand, because he was trying to argue that, when you send somebody fair to come for a meeting somewhere, you send an M-Pesa transaction once or twice, then a woman would easily say that, I have a share on this. Does this law also curtail such kind of actions from women to men?
Actually, that is the clause I was referring to about clause number 2.
Yes.
Article 3, clause 2, which says a person not named in this section shall not be a dependent for the purposes of this act unless the person proves maintained by the deceased for a period of 2 years prior to the deceased death. And this is the one we were discussing with Honorable Kaluma, that this one needs to be either deleted at a certain section and leave it as a person not named in this section shall not be a dependent for the purposes of this act. Full stop. You do not put a rider of unless, because if you put that rider, you then reintroduce the busybodies who are hanging around people, to take advantage of them and take advantage of their properties at their demise. So I think this should be a protective clause that stops at that if you're not mentioned by this act, then you're not a dependent. Period. Then that removes the M-Pesa people, removes, those who are maintained through fairs and through chips funga and all that and all those other things. Hello.
Yes, I can hear you, Mheshimiwa. Continue.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is, there should be a protective clause. If we are trying to protect legal dependents, we must not then introduce some room or some avenue for the same hangers-on, for the same busybodies, for the same M-Pesa people now to get away, to creep into the equation again.
Right.
There must be clarity in law. There must be clarity in law. A lot of families are suffering in courts. A lot of women, and when I say women, actually there are also men who are. Actually, the other day I was being told of a former colleague who passed on, but today the family is really harassing the husband. In trying to prove whether this person, the husband, was dependent on the woman.
All right. Mheshimiwa, I think at that point, we need to take a very short commercial break, because this conversation still continues shortly after this. And of course, we are going to delve more into this and other stories that is coming to us right now, moving on until the end of this conversation. So at this point, let's take a very short commercial break. We'll be right back with more.